Hey everybody, I'm Brandon72Mo. This is the Imponte Dukes, and I'm about to find out if it'll off-road. This is actually the second most voted for vehicle this week, coming in with 9 votes, not a whole lot. First most voted for vehicle that we'll see in just a few minutes, got a lot more than that. You can vote on the vehicles that you want to see by clicking in the link in the description down below. You can vote as many times as you want for as many vehicles as you want. A limit per 3 each time you vote, but you can change your votes. There's also a place for you to ride in a vehicle, so if you don't see one in the list, then you'd like to see it tested for Will It Off-Road, just write it in, and I'll do my best to get it tested. So, the Imponte Dukes, a muscle car. Muscle cars can be really hit or miss. As you can see, it's struggling a little bit to just find that sweet spot with the accelerator between traction and forward motion. Once to spin its wheels real easy, but I'm pretty sure I've found it for the most part. The Dukes does have a spoiler, so it does get a little bit of a traction boost, but not a whole lot. The Dukes is actually, well, it used to be fairly competitive in racing until some newer muscle cars came along, Saber Turbo Custom, things like that. The Dominator race car kind of knocked it a little bit back, but you used to be able to take a Dukes and race it against Coquette Blackfin and regular Dominator, and if you knew what you were doing with it, you could actually turn in a really good lap time. I've won several races actually in a Dukes. I was really looking forward to going to new gen just so I can have this car, in fact, because it's not on old gen at all, and so it's a nice car to have. And I think it's only for returning players. Am I wrong about that? I know there's the Dukes of Death in story mode, and I think that's for returning players only. Again, I could be mistaken on that, though. I was really hoping, speaking of Dukes of the Death, I was really hoping to see the Dukes of Death put in with the Import-Export DLC. I think it would fit in perfectly with the theme of the Pegasus Special Vehicles, but alas, it's not there. So another missed opportunity by Rockstar. With bikers, they should have given us the Lost Slamvan, and they did not, and well, now they had another chance to give us a car that a lot of people want to have. What are you going to do? Funny story about the Dukes of Death, though. There was a way a long time ago to glitch in cars from story mode into online and then store them in your garage. With the Dukes of Death, the players that had those, when Rockstar finally did something about it, instead of just deleting them or making them undrivable or something like that, they made it so that when you got into it in your garage, it instantly blow up. So that's right, they fitted it with an ignition bomb, which I thought was hilarious. I mean, that's a really clever way to deal with people glitching things online that they shouldn't have. But still, come on, Rockstar, give us the Dukes of Death online. We've got so many other OP vehicles, it'll fit in nicely. But the regular Dukes is actually turning in a fairly impressive time. A little bit of a struggle coming up here just because of its long wheelbase. Kind of got hung up, so I'm just going to get it repositioned and then go for it again. Getting a bit of wheel spin, but as I let off the throttle, his back wheels find their grip. And up we go. Going to try to go around this rock since the car sits so low. And we are up. 3 minutes, 22 seconds. Will the Dukes off-road? Yeah, surprisingly, really well. That's not a bad time for any car, let alone a muscle car. So, not bad for the Dukes. But that means now taking it for our controlled descent to see how it does with gravity acting upon it. Trying to pull it down the mountain as quickly as possible. Always to a slow start, because this can be rather hairy right here coming down the side of that rock face. Dukes handled it just fine, though. Not going to get too much speed on here, simply because the car's really long. I don't want to have it start spinning on me and have half the car go sliding off, pulling the rest of the car with it. But the Dukes has really good brakes. They do tend to want to lock up a little earlier than I'd like to see. But as long as you're aware of that, you can kind of just tap them. And then as you saw back there, the back end does want to bounce around a little bit, which did make it a little difficult to get it back under control. But with the right application of brakes and throttle, you're able to get that back in right back in line. Honestly, not a lot of work with the Dukes. I was really surprised by this. I had never, ever taken the Dukes off-road that I can recall before I made this video. Or before I recorded this video, I should say. So I was really surprised how it did. It handles the uneven parts really well, handles the twists and turns really well, it gets enough grip. The jumps are okay, if not a little harsh, but yeah, every once in a while it'll understeer a bit, or sometimes it'll oversteer. But as long as you're aware that the car has those characteristics, you really shouldn't find yourself in trouble with this thing when you're off-roading with it. Granted, again, like a lot of the off-roading, it's not going to go through deep water. Oh, as I take a hiker down and drag her along for the ride, you're not going to be able to go through very deep water. And you're not going to have the ground clearance to do any major rock crawling. Another really hard landing there. But if you're just, you know, driving in the dirt up and down some hills, the Dukes does okay. It's mainly about throttle control. You don't want to get too heavy on the throttle. You want to make sure that those back wheels maintain their grip. So if it was raining, I'm sure it'd be a completely different story. But here in the dry, this has been easy. Really effortless. Just got to be careful with the oversteer and understeer. The traction, and of course, like I said earlier, it does bounce every once in a while over some of the bigger bumps. So you just be aware of those things, and you'll be just fine. Coming around the tree of mini crashes, managed to avoid a crash today. I need to name every corner in this. I never remember all those names, though. Tree of mini crashes is about the best I can do. Finally, back down on asphalt, bringing it around these final few little bends here. Another fairly good time for the Dukes, though. Made it down with little fuss. A few hiccups here and there, but we're down in 2 minutes, 57 seconds, which means taking it back to the top of Mount Chiliad to fling it off the side to see how the Dukes takes damage. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the Dukes was in GTA 4. And I'm pretty sure they used the GTA 4 models and just kind of updated it to a little bit better graphics. But because it has those GTA 4 car models, the damage that renders should be a little bit more realistic than what we see off of a lot of the newer cars that we take in down this damage descent as I struggle to find the words. Yeah, you can already see the body's starting to deform a little bit. Well, we don't always see that on a lot of cars, so it is nice to see it happen. I mean, yeah, you don't want to bang your car up if you don't have to, but if you know, fly off the side of a mountain and land face first in a boulder, it should have more than a broken headlight. And I think the Dukes is doing a pretty damn good job of modeling some of that damage for us. Like a lot of big, long cars, the Dukes wants to go ass first. Just wants to keep spinning around on me, but a little bit of a fight with it. Keep it going frontwards. And I think we'll have another little bit of an issue here in just a second as it kind of bounces around in this really rough terrain. Yeah, there we go. Got bounced around and caused it to do a little flip. Nothing you can't recover from, though. Once again, going backwards. Going through our final little tunnel here. Well, as soon as we get off the boulder, now we're going through our final tunnel here. Through the last muddy section. And we'll make the climb up next to the wood pile. A little bit of a lot of wheel spin there. But we are down in 1 minute, 46 seconds. Let's take a look at the damage on the Dukes. We have most of the lights and windows gone, significant body denting, and some pretty severely bent wheels. So it took a beating, but no engine rattle, anything like that. It probably pulled a little bit to the left or the right on the road, but you know, it's fine. Which brings us to our next vehicle, the Vapid Slamvan. Now this is the original Slamvan, not the Slamvan Custom Lowrider that you can get from Benny's. And it is the first most voted for vehicle with 40 votes. That's quite a few. This has actually been the first most voted for vehicle for quite a while. I just didn't have one, and I didn't have space for one. But with the new 60-car garages available for CEOs, I was finally able to free up some space in a muscle car garage and get a slam van. I've been meaning to get just a regular slam van for a long time, as tacos somehow blew up. I'm not sure what happened there. I wasn't really watching to see what he was doing on the map. So, the Vapid Slamvan. If ever you've driven one, you know that this is a challenging truck to drive. The lightest bit of throttle results in it wanting to do a burnout. It doesn't want to go around a corner. It suffers from two things in that regard. Has really bad understeer. And then once you do finally get those front wheels to get grip and turn, the back end wants to oversteer. As soon as you start a turn, if you're on the throttle much at all, the back wheels lose their grip, start smoking, and you spin around. On top of that, as if all of that weren't enough, the Slamvan has terrible, absolutely horrible brakes. If you don't believe me, just get one going really fast in a straight line and then hit the brakes. It's not that they lock up like on the Brawler where you just don't stop. It's just they don't really seem to have much oomph behind them. They just don't want to stop. All of those things combined, well, let's just say this has been challenging. You are looking at my either second, third, maybe even fourth attempt to get this truck up Mount Chiliad. The first several attempts all resulted in not only just failure, but usually it's spinning off somewhere or going over one of the ledges and going crashing down the mountain. So yeah, I did find a lot of times I try to avoid the wheel spin like I'm getting right here. I found with the Slamvan, the only way to get it up the mountain was to get that wheel spin going and just ride out through it. Of course, it did come around a little bit on me, so I had to back up. But you just have to kind of steer through that wheel spin and try to keep the damn thing going in a straight line. It spins its wheels at such a low gas pedal pressure that it's really hard to avoid it. As you can see there, if it's not spinning its wheels, it's barely putting out any power at all, which is frustrating. It made this a really big challenge to get the Slamvan up the mountain. The Slamvan Custom was not near this much work. But then again, the Slamvan Custom, well, it's improved. Better brakes, better traction, better handling. So yeah, it's needless to say the Slamvan Custom is going to do a lot better. But this, like I said, this is just a regular Slamvan. And it'll stay that way. I may one day turn it into a custom, but I really like the two-tone paint that's available on the regular Slamvan. You can't get that when you turn it into a custom anymore. I don't think. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think you get that split paint. Plus, I absolutely love the paint job I have on this truck. I think it's beautiful. But it's making it, not in any rapid amount of time, but it is definitely making it up the mountain. With those wheels just spinning in protest, but it's doing it. Do I recommend the Slamvan for off-roading? Oh, hell no. It'd be not fun. Avoid it at all costs. But it can do it if absolutely necessary. What it cannot do, however, is make this turn. This is where I got it all the way to here one time, and then it didn't stop and went right over the edge there, and I had to get it fixed and try again. So I'm going to back up a little bit, get some speed, because I know just from the previous attempts that it cannot make this final climb without a little bit of speed on its side. And even then, when those back wheels start spinning, it's really hard to keep it going in the direction I want it to go. But it is up, taking out a hiker, 2 hikers in 4 minutes, 18 seconds. Will it off-road? Yeah, but like I said, I don't recommend it. In fact, I would encourage you to avoid it because this has not been fun at all. It's a lot of work. Which means it's time for the controlled descent. Which means that understeer, oversteer, and the terrible brakes are all going to be major headaches. Right off the bat with the braking, right here, trying to keep it as slow as possible, and then we're down onto the path. Whew. That was harrowing. I was really nervous that was going to be game over already on the descent. I was being very very careful. And I'm being very careful now because since this thing does have such terrible brakes, you can see me tapping the brakes to try to shave off some of that speed. Now I'm just full on them, and it's not slowing down. There, finally did, but that was only because I kind of went up and onto that rock a little bit. It's not slowing it down at all in this descent. I have to use the terrain to slow me down. And that's going to get a little bit sketchy here in just a second. Going incredibly slow here because we've got this little steep hill here on the brakes, and it still wants to just keep going. You can't even tell I was really on the brakes because it stayed at the same speed. Yeah, I was a little bit nervous during this one. And again, got a lot of speed. I thought that was it. I thought I was going over. But at the last second, the terrain saved me, not the brakes. So we come up to the uneven section of the path. Slamvan kind of thuds down into it, but wasn't too upset by it. Managed to get through without too much drama. To our first little jump here, gonna go kind of slow. Landed that fine, but then as soon as we landed it, the back end wants to start playing up on me. A little bit of throttle, but too much. Brakes couldn't stop, and I slammed into the wall. So once again, keeping the speed shaved off, on the brakes hard. Oh, there we go. Landed hard. You can just see the work that's going into this. This truck does not want to go in a straight line. It doesn't like the jumps. It doesn't like the downhill. And I am on the brakes now very hard. They're hard to see on this truck. But the brakes, you can see me flashing them there, on and on and on and off, on and off. On hard now and not slowing down at all. Not at all. Still hard on the brakes. And it's only because that embankment was there that it slowed down. That's the only reason. That embankment wouldn't have been there, I would have just went flying off the side. Bounced up a little bit. Hard on the brakes, but not enough braking power. And nailed a tree. I know I keep harping about the brakes, but that is a big, big problem with this truck. One you have to be very aware of when you're driving it. It's a beautiful truck, and I do love driving it. It's an absolute hoot in the snow and in the rain even. But it is challenging to drive, even on just flat, dry pavement. So taking it off-road has been an even bigger challenge, but a fun one. And it's looked good doing it, damn it. Got a couple hikers here. Got one of them in which gave me a wanted level. That must have been an insta-kill. Don't want to go too fast around these bends, lest the back end come around on me. Try to get a little bit of speed, but not too terribly much here. There we go. And we are down in our controlled descent in a pretty longish 3 minutes, 45 seconds. It didn't even want to stop from that. Which means taking it back to the top of Mount Chiliad, and you may notice it's suddenly nighttime. That's because I went and found a cargo bob, and I flew this thing to the top. After as many times as I attempted and failed to get it to the top, and after how long it took for the one successful run, I was not going to tempt fate. I went and found a cargo bob, flew it up there, and then drove it down to the ramp. Even the little bit to get on that ramp was just nerve-wracking. Slamvan is bouncing all around. Already lost the door. Several windows are gone. The headlights are already gone as it kick flips its own door out of the way. Definitely taking a beating. And like a lot of cars, it wants to go down backwards. You would think these cars with the engines in the front would want to go down frontwards, but something about them always spins them around. We lost a fender. I didn't even know the fenders could come off this truck until I recorded this video. We are just flipping and rolling our whole way down this thing. There goes the hood. The back bumper's about to fall off. Pretty sure it makes it all the way down with the bumper intact, though. It just kind of wobbles back and forth behind the truck, but pretty sure it stays on. And there we go. Rolled over on me. And I hear some engine damage. And it sounds like that engine damage is getting worse with each impact. It started off just a few seconds ago as a minor rattle. And now when it shifts up or I let off the throttle, I'm hearing a big rattle. So definitely some significant engine damage going on here, but I'm not much I'm talking. All right, final climb next to the wood pile. Actually does it with very little drama. And we are down in 1 minute, 49 seconds, almost spun around. Let's take a look at our damage. Of course, we're missing the hood and both fenders. Most of the windows are gone. All the lights are gone. The left door and the tailgate are misaligned. The rear bumper is loose, and the engine is damaged. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Hit that like button. Get subscribed if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below. I'm Brendan72Mo, and I'll see you in the next video.